Emptiness. In Buddhism, this single word has the power to completely overturn the way we see life. It is not just a philosophical term buried in ancient texts. It is a radical lens that questions everything we take for granted. From the moment we wake up, we instinctively believe in a solid I, a permanent self that owns our body, our thoughts, our relationships, and even our achievements. But the Buddha pointed directly at this assumption and declared, the world is empty. Empty not in the sense of nothingness or despair, but empty of a fixed, unchanging essence. And this realization is not a dry theory. It is a key that unlocks freedom from suffering. Think about it. Every conflict you've had, whether it's losing someone you love, clinging to success, fearing failure, or being crushed by anxiety, all of it is rooted in the belief that there's a me who must defend, protect, and control what is mine. Emptiness challenges that belief. It shows that the self you're fighting so hard to preserve is like a mirage, convincing at first glance, but impossible to grasp. What we call me is actually a flow of changing conditions, body, sensations, perceptions, mental habits, and consciousness, all arising and fading moment after moment. The Buddha's insight wasn't abstract speculation. It was practical medicine. He saw that clinging to this imagined solidity is the root of suffering, and seeing through it is liberation. That's why he insisted. The world, as we know it through our six senses, is empty of self and what belongs to self. Not because life doesn't exist, but because everything exists only in relation, through causes and conditions. Nothing stands alone. Nothing is truly mine. And here lies the paradox. Emptiness is not bleak. Far from stripping life of meaning, it opens a horizon where freedom, peace, and compassion naturally arise. To see emptiness is to breathe easier, to carry life more lightly, and to meet others without the heavy walls of ego. Imagine living in a way where every experience is vivid yet unburdened, where joy is no longer tied to grasping and loss no longer feels like annihilation. This is what emptiness offers. A shift so deep it changes not only how you think, but how you live, how you love, and how you face the storms of existence. Part 1, Emptiness, the gateway to freedom. Emptiness, or sunyata, is one of the most challenging yet liberating concepts in all of Buddhist teachings. When people hear the word empty, they often think of nothingness, despair, or meaningless void. But in reality, the Buddha's teaching on emptiness points in the opposite direction. It is not nihilism, but a radical way of seeing that everything is without a fixed, independent essence. And this realization is the very foundation of liberation. Let's take a look at daily life. From the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep, we carry a constant idea of, I am this, I must achieve that, I must protect what belongs to me, I must defend who I am. But have you ever paused and asked, what exactly is this I? Is it your body, which is changing every single moment? Is it your feelings, shifting from joy to sadness, from excitement to anxiety, never staying still? Or is it your memories, your thoughts, your past achievements? If you examine closely, you'll see that none of these can hold steady. Everything flows, transforms, and slips away moment by moment. This is what the Buddha discovered. What we call self is simply a temporary gather of the 5 aggregates: form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. These arise, linger for a time, and then fade away. There is no permanent controller behind them. So, what is the me we cling to so tightly? The shocking answer is, there is no independent, unchanging me at all. At first, this might sound unbelievable. Yet if you observe life deeply, you'll find this truth everywhere. The flower you admire today is not just a flower by itself. It is sunlight, rain, soil, the gardener's effort, and countless hidden conditions. It cannot exist in isolation. In the same way, you are not a separate, solid entity. You are the outcome of parents, culture, society, relationships, and thousands of causes and conditions constantly shaping you. Everything exists only in interdependence, within a web of connections. That is what emptiness means. And here lies the key. Realizing emptiness does not make life meaningless. It makes life lighter, freer, and more alive. When you stop clinging to a fixed self, you stop being crushed by loss, failure, or fear. When you see that everything is impermanent and without a solid core, you learn to appreciate each moment deeply, but without being chained by it. Think of the times you felt insulted, hurt, or angered. All of it came from the assumption that there was a solid me under attack. But if you see that me is just a flow of changing elements, then the insult has no target to stick to. It comes and goes like a breeze. The anger dissolves because there is no rigid ego to defend. And something wonderful happens. From this emptiness arises compassion and wisdom. Because when you see yourself as not separate, you see yourself in others and others in yourself. Their suffering is not foreign to you. Their joy is not outside you. This vision naturally awakens unconditional love and genuine compassion, not bound by the walls of ego. Some may ask, if there is no self, what's the point of living? What I strive for? The answer is this: to live without being trapped by the illusion of self. You still work, love, and create, but you do so in freedom. Success and failure no longer define your worth. Gain and loss no longer bind your heart. This is the awakened way of living, the path to unshakable peace. And if these reflections resonate with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Press the like button if you'd like to hear more about this profound teaching. And don't forget to share this video so others can also touch the wisdom of the Buddha. Even a small act like that is a seed of compassion, helping to ease suffering and spread more peace in the world. In the next part, we will go deeper. How can you actually experience emptiness? Not just understand intellectually? Because wisdom only comes alive when it enters daily life, in each breath, each word, each action. And that is the path the Buddha invited us to walk. Part 2, Experiencing Emptiness in Daily Life. Understanding emptiness with the intellect is just the first step. True transformation happens when emptiness moves from being a concept to being a lived reality. Something you can feel in your body, see in your relationships, and breathe into your daily experiences. Without practice, emptiness can remain an abstract idea, admired from afar, but never tasted. The Buddha was clear. His teachings were not meant for debate or speculation, but for direct realization. So, how do we begin to experience emptiness in a real, tangible way? The path starts with mindfulness. By paying close attention to your body, your breath, your thoughts, and your emotions, you start to notice their impermanent, shifting nature. Mindfulness reveals that everything you experience is in constant motion. Even as you listen to these words, your body is aging. Cells are dying, new cells are forming. The breath you just took no longer exists. The feeling you had a few moments ago has already dissolved. What you call now is always slipping into then. When you look deeply with mindfulness, you see that nothing stands still long enough to be called me or mine. Your anger, for instance, may feel solid when it first arises, but if you observe closely, you'll notice it changing, burning hot, then cooling, shifting into sadness or fading into emptiness. The same is true for joy, fear, excitement, desire. They are not permanent possessions, but passing visitors. To see this clearly is to taste emptiness. Another way to practice is through contemplation. Sit quietly and ask yourself, where's the I? Is it in the body? Which part? The heart? The brain? The hands? If you take them apart, does I still remain? Is the I in your thoughts? But thoughts come and go like clouds. Is it in your memories? Yet memories are fragile, often distorted, and fade with time. No matter how much you search, you will not find a solid I you can point to. What you find instead is a stream of conditions, dependent on one another, never standing alone. This insight is not meant to make you feel lost, but to show you the freedom of not being chained to an illusion. The Buddha gave a famous analogy. Imagine a chariot. When you look at it, you say, that is a chariot. But when you examine it, what do you really find? Wheels, an axle, a frame, a seat. Take them apart, and the chariot disappears. It was never a separate entity to begin with, only a convenient name for a collection of parts working together. In the same way, what you call self is just a convenient label for the 5 aggregates functioning together. Remove the conditions and the self cannot be found. Living with this insight changes everything. When you argue with someone, instead of reacting from a rigid sense of, I am right, you might see how both of you are shaped by causes and conditions. Their words come from their upbringing, their stress, their pain, their habits. Your reaction comes from your own conditioning. Suddenly, the heat of the argument softens. You realize there is no solid enemy to fight against. Only a web of causes unfolding. Compassion arises naturally, replacing the urge to defend or attack. The practice of emptiness also transforms how you relate to success and failure. Think about how much pressure we put on ourselves to be somebody, to prove our worth. Yet when you see through the illusion of self, you understand that success is not purely yours. It is a result of countless factors: your teachers, your family, the opportunities you were given, even the society that allows you to pursue your goals. Likewise, failure is not entirely yours either. It too is shaped by many causes. This view doesn't remove responsibility, but it frees you from the crushing weight of ego-driven judgment. You can strive with diligence, yet without clinging. You can enjoy achievements, yet without arrogance. You can accept setbacks, yet without despair. Experiencing emptiness is not about withdrawing from life. On the contrary, it makes you more fully alive. When you realize that each moment is empty of permanence, you learn to savor it. The laughter of a child, the beauty of the sky, the warmth of a friend's presence. These things are precious precisely because they cannot last. Emptiness teaches you to embrace impermanence as a gift, not a threat. Every breath, every moment becomes an invitation to wake up, to be present, to let go. Now, some people might fear that if everything is empty, then nothing matters. But the truth is the opposite. Because everything is empty of fixed essence. Everything is possible. A seed is empty of being just a seed. Therefore, it can become a sprout, a tree, a flower, a fruit. A person is empty of being fixed. Therefore, they can grow, change, heal, and awaken. Emptiness is not the end of meaning. It is a space of infinite potential. This is why the great masters often said, form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. The two are not separate. Emptiness does not erase life. It allows life to be exactly as it is, vibrant, fluid, interdependent. To live with this understanding is to step into freedom. And if these reflections touch something in you, let me know in the comments. How do you see emptiness in your own life? Have you ever experienced a moment where clinging dropped away, even for a second, and you felt light, free, at peace? Sharing your story might inspire someone else. And if you're finding value in this journey, don't forget to like this video and share it with friends who might need these teachings. Together, we can create a ripple of wisdom and compassion that reaches far beyond ourselves. In the next part, we will explore the heart of the paradox, how emptiness is not the destruction of self, but the very ground of love, connection, and compassion. Because when the walls of me dissolve, what remains is the vast space where genuine care for others can flourish. Part 3. Emptiness as the ground of compassion. At first, emptiness can sound unsettling. If there is no solid self, no fixed identity, then what anchors us? What gives life meaning? To someone hearing this for the first time, emptiness may seem like a void, a negation of everything we hold dear. But the Buddha's discovery was the opposite. Emptiness is not a void. It is a vast openness, a fertile space from which love, wisdom, and compassion naturally arise. Think of the sky. It looks empty, yet because of its openness, clouds can float, birds can fly, rain can fall, and the sun can shine. If the sky were solid, nothing could move. Emptiness works the same way. Because nothing has a fixed, unchanging essence, everything is free to arise, change, and interconnect. This is why emptiness is sometimes called fullness. It is the fullness of infinite possibilities. Now, how does this connect to compassion? Let's look closely. As long as we believe in a separate, solid self, we live in a world of division. Me versus you, mine versus yours, us versus them. This illusion creates fear, competition, jealousy, and conflict. But when you see emptiness clearly, those walls begin to dissolve. You realize there is no isolated me standing apart from the rest of life. You are woven into the fabric of existence, just as every other being is. From this insight, compassion flows naturally. If you and I are not truly separate, then your suffering is not entirely yours, nor is my joy entirely mine. To harm you is to harm myself. To help you is to help myself. Emptiness dismantles the boundaries of ego and reveals the truth of interbeing, a word Thich Nhat Hanh often used to describe how all things inter are. Consider the example of anger. When someone shouts at you, your first instinct may be to defend yourself, to push back. But if you look deeply with the eyes of emptiness, you may see that their words are not just theirs. They come from their own suffering, their childhood wounds, their current stress, their unmet needs. Seeing this, anger softens into understanding. You no longer see them as an enemy, but as a fellow human caught in conditions beyond their control. This shift is compassion in action, born from emptiness. Or take grief. When someone you love passes away, the pain can feel unbearable. But if you contemplate emptiness, you begin to see that they are not gone the way you imagine. They continue in the soil, in the air, in your own body, in the habits and love they left behind. Emptiness shows you that nothing truly disappears. It only transforms. This realization doesn't erase grief, but allows love to remain without being chained to despair. Compassion, even for your own heart, becomes possible. Emptiness also changes the way we love. Normally, love is mixed with attachment. We cling, we demand, we fear losing the other. But this kind of love often brings as much pain as joy. Emptiness teaches us a different way, to love without grasping. When you see that neither you nor the other person is a fixed entity, you stop trying to control or possess them. You love them as they are, moment by moment, knowing they are always changing. This love is lighter, freer, and more enduring. This is why emptiness is not cold or detached. It does not turn us into indifferent observers. On the contrary, it warms the heart, because when the illusion of separation falls away, we feel more connected than ever. Compassion becomes as natural as breathing. Helping others is no longer a duty or a moral rule, but a spontaneous expression of understanding. The Buddha himself embodied this. After realizing emptiness, he could have withdrawn into silence, content with his own liberation. But instead, compassion moved him to teach for over 40 years, guiding countless beings toward freedom. Emptiness was not an escape from the world, but the very ground from which boundless compassion could bloom. And this is why the teachings on emptiness are so precious today. In a world torn by division, greed, and violence, we desperately need a vision that transcends us versus them. Emptiness shows us that such divisions are illusions. We are already interconnected. The air I breathe out is the air you breathe in. The food on my plate exists because of farmers, rain, sunlight, and soil across the planet. Our lives are interwoven in ways we cannot even begin to count. To awaken to this truth is to awaken compassion for all beings. So, I invite you to reflect. How would your relationships change if you truly saw emptiness? How would your view of others, your family, friends, even strangers, shift if you realize they are not separate from you? Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Your reflection might open someone else's heart. And if this exploration of emptiness resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. The world needs more compassion, and spreading these teachings is one small but powerful way to make that happen. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. We'll explore how to bring the insight of emptiness into concrete daily practices, not just on a meditation cushion, but in how you speak, work, and respond to life's challenges. Because emptiness is not just a lofty idea. It is meant to be lived here and now in every step you take. Part 4, Living Emptiness in Daily Life. Up to now, we've explored emptiness as a profound insight, the realization that nothing has a fixed, independent self. But if we stop at theory, emptiness remains an idea, and ideas alone cannot free us. The real transformation happens when we live emptiness, when it becomes a lens through which we move, breathe, and act in everyday life. So, how do we practice emptiness in daily living? Let's start with something simple: mindfulness of change. Take a moment to notice your breath. Each inhale arises, stays for a moment, and dissolves. Each exhale does the same. Breath is a perfect teacher of impermanence. If you can truly observe it, without grasping or resisting, you touch emptiness directly. The emptiness of any fixed identity in the breath, in the body, in the self. From there, extend this awareness to feelings. When a wave of joy comes, don't cling to it as if it will last forever. When sadness arises, don't sink into despair as if it defines you. Simply notice. Feelings come and go like clouds in the sky. They are empty of permanence, empty of ownership. This doesn't mean you suppress them. It means you allow them to move freely, without building a cage of mind around them. One powerful way to bring emptiness into life is through relationships. Normally, conflict arises because we cling to fixed views. I'm right, you're wrong. Or, I deserve this, you don't. But when you remember emptiness, you see that even your views are not solid. They are shaped by conditions, your upbringing, your experiences, your emotions at the moment. The same is true for the other person. With this understanding, arguments soften. You begin to listen, not to defend your ego, but to see the causes and conditions behind the other's words. Let me share a story. A student once complained to his Zen teacher that people around him were unbearable, always irritating, always unreasonable. The teacher calmly asked, "If a bell rings, do you get angry at the sound?" The student replied, "Of course not." The teacher smiled. Then why get angry at people? They are like bells. They act and speak according to the conditions that strike them. The point was not to excuse bad behavior, but to see emptiness. No one is a fixed enemy. Everyone is shaped by conditions. Seeing this, compassion replaces judgment. Emptiness also transforms how we approach success and failure. In the usual way of thinking, success inflates the ego. I am great. I achieve this. Failure crushes it. I am worthless. But emptiness reveals that neither success nor failure defines who you are. They are outcomes of countless conditions: timing, effort, support, even luck. Recognizing this frees you from pride when you succeed and despair when you fail. You still strive, but without being trapped by labels of winner or loser. Another practice is to apply emptiness in speech. Before speaking, pause and ask, am I speaking from ego or from interconnection? Words born from ego usually divide, criticize, or inflate. Words born from emptiness heal, encourage, and unify. For example, instead of saying, you always hurt me, which solidifies the other person as an enemy, you might say, when those words were spoken, I felt pain. This simple shift reflects emptiness. It acknowledges change, avoids fixed blame, and opens space for understanding. Even in suffering, emptiness can be a medicine. Imagine you're overwhelmed by anxiety. The mind keeps saying, I am anxious, I am trapped. But if you look deeply, you see that anxiety is not a permanent part of you. It arises from conditions, stress, fatigue, habits of thought. And just as it arises, it will pass. Anxiety is empty of a solid self. Realizing this doesn't erase it instantly, but it loosens its grip. You no longer believe the story that I am anxiety. Instead, you see anxiety as just one temporary wave in the ocean of mind. This is why the Buddha called emptiness a path of freedom. When you practice it, you don't have to run away from life, nor cling desperately to it. You meet each moment with openness, knowing it is fluid, alive, and empty of any fixed essence. That is where true peace begins. And remember, practice is not about perfection. You will forget, you will cling, you will fall back into old habits. That's okay. Every moment is a chance to return. Every breath is an invitation to see emptiness again. Slowly, this practice reshapes the mind. It makes you lighter, freer, and more compassionate without even trying. So let me ask you, how you think emptiness could change the way you live? Could it shift the way you handle stress, love, or conflict? I'd love to hear your reflections in the comments below. If this teaching speaks to you, please like this video and share it with someone who might need a little more space, freedom, and peace in their life. By doing so, you're not just supporting the channel. You're planting seeds of wisdom in the collective mind of humanity. In the next part, we'll explore a deeper layer. What happens when we realize that even emptiness itself is empty? It may sound paradoxical, but this insight is crucial to prevent emptiness from becoming another dogma. And it's in this subtle wisdom that the doorway to ultimate freedom opens wide. Part 5, The Emptiness of Emptiness. By now, we've seen how emptiness frees us from clinging to a fixed self, from rigid views, and from the illusion of permanence. But here's the subtle danger. Once we discover the liberating power of emptiness, the mind is tempted to cling to emptiness itself, to make it into a new kind of ground, a hidden essence, or a final truth that everything is really empty. This is where the Buddha and later masters, especially Nagarjuna, gave us a vital reminder. Even emptiness is empty. What does that mean? It means emptiness is not a substance, not a hidden reality beneath appearances, and not a new absolute we can hold on to. Emptiness is simply a way of describing how things exist, dependent on causes and conditions, lacking any fixed core. If we take emptiness as something fixed, we fall back into the very trap it was meant to dissolve. We turn freedom into another prison, another concept to defend, another dogma to cling to. Even in global challenges, war, poverty, climate change, emptiness offers a path. If we see ourselves as separate individuals fighting for survival, despair overwhelms us. But if we see emptiness, we understand that no problem is isolated and no solution can be individual. We are woven into a fabric of life. This doesn't make the problem smaller, but it makes our hearts larger. From that space, compassionate action arises without being crushed by the weight of saving the world. It's important to see that compassion born of emptiness is not sentimental. It's not about drowning in others' pain or burning out from giving too much. Because when you understand emptiness, you know there is no fixed me to exhaust and no fixed other to save. There's only the dance of conditions. And in that dance, kindness flows as naturally as breathing. A Zen saying puts it simply, with wisdom we cut through illusion. With compassion we embrace all beings. One without the other is incomplete. Wisdom alone is cold. Compassion alone is blind. But together they form the awakened heart, the heart that sees clearly and loves deeply. And this is where emptiness transforms life the most. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but engaging with it more freely, more lovingly, more skillfully. You can live, work, love, and serve without the heavy armor of ego. You can walk through storms without being drowned, because you no longer cling to a self that must be protected at all costs. You can care for others without being consumed, because compassion flows from freedom, not from compulsion. So let me ask you, how would your life change if every act of care, every word of kindness, every moment of patience was rooted in emptiness? Wouldn't relationships soften, conflicts ease, and even the burden of your own suffering lighten? If these teachings touch something in you, I invite you, please like this video, share with others who might be searching for freedom, and comment below with your reflections. What does emptiness mean to you? How has compassion shown up in your life? Your words may be the spark that helps someone else awaken. In the next and final part, we'll draw everything together, wisdom, emptiness, compassion, and see how these teachings point to the ultimate freedom the Buddha revealed, nirvana, a freedom not far away, but available here and now, in each breath, in each step, in each act of love. Part 7, Emptiness and the Door to Nirvana. We have traveled far. We began by questioning the reality of a solid self. We learned to see how everything arises through conditions, without permanence, without ownership. We explored how emptiness is not bleak nothingness, but a path to freedom. We discovered the paradox of the emptiness of emptiness, which keeps us from turning this teaching into yet another dogma. And we saw how emptiness naturally blossoms into compassion, allowing us to care without clinging, to act without being trapped. Now, we arrive at the heart of it all, nirvana. For many, nirvana is a mysterious word, a place, a paradise, or an escape from the world. But the Buddha never described it as somewhere else. Nirvana is not a heaven you go to after death. It is the extinguishing of clinging here and now. The word literally means blowing out, like a flame that has gone out, not because it was destroyed, but because the fuel was exhausted. The flame of suffering goes out when the fuel of ignorance and craving is consumed. When you realize emptiness deeply, clinging has nowhere to root itself. You no longer grasp itself or other, success or failure, gain or loss. You participate fully in life, but without chains. And in that freedom, the mind becomes cool, vast, unshaken. This is nirvana. To some, this might sound like detachment or indifference, but it is the opposite. In nirvana, life is more vivid, more tender, more alive than ever, because you are no longer imprisoned by the ego's fears and demands. You can finally meet the world openly. You can love without grasping. You can give without expecting. You can live without being driven by the panic of birth and death. Nirvana is not the end of life. It is the end of bondage. Think about standing by the ocean. When you are caught in clinging, the waves feel dangerous. They rise, crash, and threaten to drown you. But when you realize emptiness, you see that waves are nothing apart from water. They rise and fall, but the ocean remains vast and calm. Nirvana is living as the ocean, not as a single wave terrified of disappearing. The Buddha himself described nirvana as the highest peace, the deepest freedom, the unborn, the deathless. These are not poetic exaggerations. They are direct descriptions of what it feels like to live without grasping. Imagine walking through life without being enslaved by anger, greed, or fear. Imagine meeting joy without clinging and loss without despair. This is not a fantasy. It is the fruit of practice, the flowering of emptiness, the cooling of the fire. And here is the most important point. Nirvana is not far away. It is not reserved for saints or mystics. It is here, in this very breath, in this very step, in this very act of letting go. Every time you see the emptiness of a thought and you don't cling, you taste nirvana. Every time you meet someone with compassion instead of judgment, you touch nirvana. Every time you breathe and rest in the openness of this moment, free from me and mine, you glimpse nirvana. The journey is not about reaching something outside yourself. It is about uncovering what has always been present beneath the layers of illusion. Nirvana is your natural state, revealed when the smoke of craving clears. So let me leave you with this. The Buddha did not give us emptiness as a cold philosophy, but as a key to freedom. A freedom so real that even suffering cannot bind it, even death cannot end it. This is the invitation of the Dharma, not to believe, not to cling to words, but to see, to practice, and to awaken. If this teaching has touched you, if something in your heart feels lighter, I invite you to walk this path. Practice mindfulness, reflect on emptiness, cultivate compassion, and discover for yourself the cool peace of nirvana. And please, if this video has been meaningful, like it, share it with those you care about, and leave a comment below with your own reflections. Your journey, your questions, your insights, they may inspire countless others who are also searching for freedom. The Buddha once said, "As the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too my teaching has one taste, the taste of liberation." May you drink deeply of this teaching. May you walk gently, love greatly, and live freely.